Hi everyone, welcome to AIMS India's online classes. As we started in our matters chapter, we are continuing with our next topic, that is chemical compounds. See, in the previous session, from these pure substances we have finished what is an element, what is the symbol and everything. Today we are going to learn about these compounds. That is what chemical compounds. Let us see what we are going to learn in these chemical compounds. See, chemical compound, before going to the compounds, before we have to know about an atom and a molecule. That compound is nothing but combination of the atoms or combination of ions or radicals. Already what is an ion or radical, everything we know. Let us see what is an atom today. See, suppose by some means we could divide an element into similar and smaller parts. There would be a limit after which it will not be possible to divide. Means atom is the smallest part which we cannot be divided. We can be divided again in subatomic particles like, but very smallest particle. And even if it could be divided, even if we are able to divide also, it is the very smallest particle. It would lose the properties of the element, this particle, the atom of the element. See, let us see what is an atom. An element into similar means we are dividing an element into similar and smaller parts. There would be a limit after which it will not be possible to divide. Again, that element we cannot divide into further. That much small particles like we are dividing. That small particle is called an atom of the element. The smallest particle of an element that retains the properties of the element is called the atom of the element. Atom is nothing but simply we are dividing the element into very smallest particle which further cannot be divided, and even if we can divide also it loses its properties. But the smallest particle which retains its properties of the element, that is called an atom. That is called the atom. Let us see. An element is made up of only one kind of atoms. Yes, already we know this. Element is made up of only one kind of atoms. All atoms of an element are identical. Yes, if you take iron element, that iron we are dividing into iron atoms like. All those atoms are iron atoms only. Means the atoms of an element are identical. But atoms of one element are different from the atoms of another element. Yes, if you take iron, that elements iron atoms only will be present. If you take tin, tin element, the dividing smallest particles are said to be atoms. All tin atoms only will be present. Let example see here. All atoms of oxygen are identical. Similarly, all atoms of nitrogen are identical. Yes, oxygen element will have oxygen atoms, nitrogen element will have nitrogen atoms. But atoms of oxygen are different from the atoms of nitrogen. But the oxygen is different, nitrogen is different. If you are taking oxygen element, that oxygen element will contain all oxygen atoms only. Nitrogen element will have all nitrogen atoms only. That oxygen and nitrogen are different. But if you are taking one element, all the element atoms present in that element will be similar. That is about an atom. Let us come to molecule. What is meant by a molecule? An atom can sometimes exist alone and sometimes in groups. See, sodium atom. Sodium can exist alone. Neon can exist alone. But some atoms exist alone. But sometimes they will form some group of atoms. That group of atoms is called a molecule. A molecule can always exist by itself. A molecule may contain similar or dissimilar atoms. Two or more atoms can combine and can form a molecule. Let us see here some of the examples. Here oxygen is a molecule. Its formula is O2. Two oxygens are combining and forming a O2 molecule. Whereas come to here hydrogen. Two hydrogen atoms are combining and forming hydrogen molecule. Chlorine. Two chlorine atoms are combining forming chlorine molecule. Two nitrogen atoms are combining and forming nitrogen molecule. Here the similar atoms are combining and forming a molecule. Whereas come to here the formula whatever the molecules we have taken, the different atoms are combining and forming a molecule. Let us see a molecule, water molecule. Water molecule is the combination of two hydrogens and one oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen are different atoms, but they are combining in particular ratio and forming a molecule. Okay, sodium chloride. Sodium is different atom, chlorine is different atom, but they are combining and forming a molecule sodium chloride. Even calcium oxide, see calcium and oxygen forming calcium oxide. Ammonia, nitrogen and three hydrogens are combining and forming NH3 molecule. The difference between these molecules and these molecule is this nitrogen, hydrogen, chlorine, oxygen are formed by combining with similar atoms, whereas come to these molecules are formed by combining with different atoms. This is called a molecule. Let us see. Atoms of most elements can exist alone. Example, iron, it exists alone. Gold, aluminum, most of the metals or most of the elements can exist alone. But in certain gases elements such as hydrogen, it is H2. It should need some combination, two hydrogen atoms, nitrogen N2, oxygen O2, chlorine Cl2 or iodine I2. Atoms cannot exist alone. They will not exist alone. They will combine with the some other atom of same element. They can exist only in pairs. A molecule of these elements contains two similar atoms. Hydrogen H2, two similar atoms are combining and forming. See, some molecules even contain three similar atoms. Oxygen is there. If it having O2, this is called oxygen. If it is having O3, this is called ozone. When three oxygen atoms are combining, two oxygen atoms are combining, that is called diatomic molecule, whereas three atoms are combining triatomic molecule. So there is a possibility to combine more than two. Also, the example is O3. See, we can therefore define a molecule as a molecule is the smallest particle of an element or a compound that can exist by itself. A molecule is a combination of the smallest particle of an atom or a compound that can exist by itself. The molecule of an element contains one or more atoms of the same kind. Molecule can be same kind or different kind also. The molecules of a compound contains two or more atoms of different kinds also. Molecule will form by same kind of atoms or by different kind of atoms also it can be formed. See, from the above discussions, we can conclude the following facts. Let us see what are those. The smallest particle of a compound is known as molecule S. The smallest particle of the compound is known as its molecule. The molecules of compounds can be broken down into the elements from which they are made. Yes, the molecules of compounds can be broken down into elements because they are forming two or three atoms are combining and forming a molecule. They can be broken down into elements again. Okay, how they have made. A molecule is the smallest particle of an element or a compound which shows all the properties of that substance. Suppose molecules means calcium oxide is there. Calcium oxide, it shows its properties. calcium oxide properties are different. When the molecule is forming, it shows its properties. That is also one of the fact. Symbol represents one atom of an element. Symbol. Suppose hydrogen is there. Hydrogen atom means H. Hydrogen molecule means H2. H2, that is called the symbol. On the other hand, molecular formulae represent one molecule of an element or a compound. That is also molecular formula representation. How to write this H2? That is the molecular formula for hydrogen molecule. O3 is the molecular formula for ozone molecule. Like that, the molecular formula represents one molecule of an element or a compound. Let us see the next one. See compounds. So what is an atom? What is a molecule? We have learned. Now come to compounds. A compound is a substance formed by the chemical union of two or more elements in a definite ratio. See here, suppose water molecule is there. Water, that is one of the compound. Whenever you see and if you start writing the water molecule, we'll write as H2O. Whenever and wherever you write water molecule, formula will be H2O only. Means two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atoms. The ratio is 2:1 ratio of hydrogen and oxygens are combining. That ratio is fixed. Carbon dioxide, carbon plus oxygen, one carbon and two oxygen atoms are combining and forming a carbon dioxide. The ratio is fixed, which is fixed by the nature. We cannot change the ratio no matter who does it. So we cannot change the water, any molecular formula that was fixed by the nature. That is only we have to follow. See here, example, water is made up of one part of oxygen and two parts of hydrogen. The ratio is fixed by the nature and we cannot alter this. Whenever, wherever, if you see the molecular formula or the compound formula of the water is H2O only. Wherever you are writing, there is no change. No one can change that. The molecular formula or the compounds ratio will be fixed in that. When the compound is formed altogether, a new substance is formed and the properties which are quite different from its reacting elements. Yes, when one or two elements are combining and they are forming a new compound, then it takes the new properties. Suppose calcium oxide is there, right? H2, otherwise I'll take one example, known example is H2O. H2O is water molecule. It is a combination of hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen properties are different, oxygen properties are different. But by combining these two, it is forming H2O molecule. The properties of H2O molecule will be different. Isn't it? Oxygen is gas, hydrogen is gas, but H2O is a liquid. Its properties are completely different. So that is what he is telling here. When the compound is formed, altogether a new substance is formed and the properties of which are quite different from its reacting elements. Example, the properties of water are quite different from its reacting elements, hydrogen and oxygen. That is what we explained. Like elements, compounds also carry names and symbols that you come across in a later chapter. Yes, every compound will have its name. That is what H2O, it is a water. Its molecular formula is H2O, like that. Every compound will carry different names and different symbols. That one we will learn in later. Okay, see. For understanding what a compound is, consider the facts given below. See here, to understand what is meant by compound, let us see. There are only 26 letters in the English. Yes, different combinations of these letters make large number of words. Yes, exactly. The 26 letters of English alphabet can form different combinations with more number of words can be formed. Only 10 numerals 0 to 9 make innumerable numbers. Yes, we can write till 1 crore. isn't it? So more than 1 crore, like that we can write that many numbers by using only these 10 numerals. A variety in music is obtained by using different combinations of only few basic notes. Sarigamapa, only by using that notes we are making the so many combinations of the basic music also. Like that only, even compounds are formed by the combination of elements. For example, one atom of carbon combines with two atoms of oxygen to form the molecule of a compound, carbon dioxide. Its formula is CO2, which is fixed. That the molecule is the smallest particle of the compound. It has dissimilar atoms. Yes, carbon is different, oxygen is different. Two dissimilar atoms combining in 1:2 ratio, because one atom of carbon and two atoms of oxygen are combining. That's why that is the dissimilar atoms with 1:2 ratio, they are combining and forming the carbon dioxide compound. There are millions of different compounds around you. Yes, probably everything you can see is one type of compounds or another. When elements join and become compounds, the new compounds formed have few or none of the physical or chemical properties of the original elements. They have a new life of their own. Yes, means these many type of elements we are combining and we are forming different types of the compounds. Again, that different types of the compounds will have a different properties. Like see example, element sodium. Sodium can form alone. It is a soft and silvery shiny metal that can easily cut with knife. This is the exceptional case. While studying in metals also we studied sodium. Even though it is a strong metal, but it is not a hard, it is very soft one, we can cut with knife. Like it is a very reactive metal. Yes, its melting point is 97.6 degrees Celsius, and it reacts violently with water, and even it reacts more with oxygen. That's why always sodium will be stored in a kerosene. It will not keep for open air. If you keep for open air, immediately it reacts with the oxygen present in the atmosphere and forms sodium oxides. That's why that one will store in the kerosene. That much reactive it is. Even it reacts with water is violently. And element chlorine consists of chlorine molecules. Chlorine is a non-metal, yellowish green gas. It is highly toxic, and it was used as a warfare agent during World War I. This chlorine gas used as a warfare agent during the World War I, and its boiling point is minus 34 degrees Celsius. See, sodium, it has these properties: its melting point and its color, silvery shiny metal, and its nature we can cut with knife. Like that only chlorine, it is a diatomic molecule because it is forming Cl2, and it is a non-metal, and it is a yellowish green gas, and its boiling point is boiling point is minus 34 degrees Celsius. Sodium is different properties, chlorine is different properties, but by combining sodium and chlorine, they form non-reactive substance called sodium chloride. That is called table salt, which we are using in our daily life. We are using in kitchen for tasting to cook the food. That is what, that is completely different properties for than sodium and chlorine. It is brittle, it is colorless, crystalline, hard, solid, having a melting point is 800 degrees Celsius. That sodium melting point is different, chlorine's boiling point is different, but by combining those two, the sodium chloride has completely different properties. Its melting point is 800 degrees Celsius. It does not react with water as sodium does, and not toxic to humans as chlorine. That this is not soft like sodium, and this is not poison toxic like chlorine. By combining these two, we are getting a different product with different properties and characteristics, but an essential component of all living organisms. Yes, it is not toxic, it is not more reactive, it is just a very important compound to all living organisms. Thus, a compound is a substance composed of two or more elements chemically combined in a definite proportion. So this is the compound. The elements will have a different properties. By combining those two elements, we will get a different compound with different chemical different properties and with different proportion. That is about the compound. Here we have a sum of the compounds and its formula. Let us see salt, NaCl. This is only we are calling as sodium chloride. Baking powder. While cooking the cakes, everything this baking powder will use. Its molecular formula is NaHCO3. Sodium bicarbonate also we can call. Vinegar. Vinegar generally we use in the kitchen. Its general molecular formula is C2H4O2. Acetic acid also its another name. Sugar. Sugar is C12H22O11. Its another name is sucrose. See chalk pieces we are using, that is called calcium carbonate, formula is CaCO3. And bleaching powder, actually bleaching powder is CaOCl2 that is calcium hypochlorite. CaO, this is that here, not this one, this is Ca. Here we have to write actually C, and two times we have to take, that is not sodium hypochlorite, it is calcium hypochlorite. And gobar gas means methane, CH4. Battery acid means H2SO4, sulfuric acid. Lime or quick lime also we can say, that is calcium oxide. Sand, SiO2, called silicon dioxide. These are the some of the compounds with the formula in our general life we are seeing. So what is meant, that is about the atom, molecule and compounds. Let us see what is meant by impure substances, because we have studied this all these yesterday's class, and today's class is about pure substances. Pure substances are classified into elements and compounds. Again, in elements we have studied metals, non-metals, metalloids, inert gases. Like in compounds also we have studied what is an atom, what is molecule, what is compound. Like that is about the pure substances classification. And here we have some impure substances also. See, when two or more substances combine in any proportion, then the resultant substance obtained is called a mixture. That is called impure substance. We study about these mixtures in further classes. Yes, these mixtures only the another chemical classification of matter. We are studying chemical classification of matter. Matter classified into two substances, pure substances, mixtures. Mixtures is also known as impure substances. Pure substances is elements and compounds we have finished till now. So in our further classes we are going to learn about impure substances or mixtures. Okay guys, see. Thanks for watching our video, and if you like our video, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel Aims Today for the latest updates and the recorded videos. Guys, please do subscribe to our channel for further more important points and further more important videos. Thank you so much.